All right, welcome everyone to the Legacy Fund meeting, May 13th. I will start off and do roll call. Starla James.
Present.
Dalen Novak.
Here.
Angela Gillen.
Here.
And Jennifer Lingston Justice.
Here.
Fantastic. All right. So we will go to approval of minutes. The first minutes is the, too far. Oh, there we go. The joint meeting between Park and Rec Committee and the Legacy Fund for February 10th. Do I have a motion for approval on those minutes?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on those? All right.
Angela will need to abstain from that because she wasn't.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And Angela is abstaining. Okay.
I was in attendance.
That is right. I remember. The second is, sorry, Matt, could you scroll up for a bit? There we go. The second are the minutes for the March 31 Legacy Fund meeting minutes. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so I'll do Starla for the motion and Jennifer for the second. Is there any discussion on those? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Sounds good. Next on the agenda is the stage rendering. Matt, you want to take it away?
Yep. So Landmark Studios put together some stage renderings for Heritage Park. We'd like to hear some feedback from the board here on what they'd like to see. So this was the original one. I am going to put this into the next one, but I do want to share what the other one looks like here. This is the updated one after the Parks and Rec Committee. So they wanted to lift the stage up. Hold on just a second. Sorry, there was a pop-up blocking it on the screen here. All right, so we lifted the stage up because it was on the ground. Heritage Park is known to flood, so we wanted to bring that up just a tad bit. We added a back on the stage because there was no back. We wanted to, have some way to hang banners and different signs like that. And then in the back, you kind of see the bottom right. There's storage in that back area because for sound equipment and other miscellaneous items there. We also added some lights on the stage to show kind of that look. That was something that was asked by the committee. So this is kind of the updated one, and this is kind of the feedback I'd like to get from you all if you have any changes or recommendations that you'd like to see or questions.
I do think this one looks better than that first rendering. I did think it needed some kind of backdrop. So that's been added in, like you said, raised up for floodplain is really important as well. So that's all good news.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was wondering about that. So thank you for addressing that.
Is this a custom made
was
thing,
there like,
or are they or is it a system like one of the ones you and I were looking at, Matt, was there's companies that make these systems. Do you know what they were intending with this one?
I do not. That's a good question that I can find out for you.
I'm just wondering if there's any effect to the cost, trying to keep costs down, of course, but keep it nice.
So we're trying not to make this like a custom one, but have like
there's just sometimes there's efficiencies in costs when it's not a custom thing. That company that I was showing you, I think it was called CoverWorks. And I'm not saying that we go with them by any means, but there's companies that do things like this. And so are there efficiencies and costs with that? So I'm just curious if they have someone in mind that could, make this, or if it is just structural engineer that would need to do it and all that,
Yep. Good question.
overall, I think it looks pretty good. did we have an estimated, occupancy or anything on the,
We
it
haven't
looks like
gotten
it's pretty
to
good size.
Yeah, we
really.
haven't gotten to dimensions yet, but the conversation that we had with the Parks and Rec committee is that we wanted it to be larger than obviously the courtyard stage. Because that's kind of the issue right now, is that it's just not large enough and kind of long enough for any larger type bands
Right.
or like plays and different things that the stage can be utilized for.
I think I can see it, but do they have a ramp on the one side? On the right side of that image?
Yes,
Yeah,
it looks
that
like
is
a
really
ramp that
good.
goes up this way, and then the stairs would be right up through here.
Great.
Very good. This definitely will help with trying to get any potential grants or anything else. The other thing I would have to do is come down and get photos of the existing space to do the, kind of like before and after, if you will. So that'll be something else I'll have to do at some juncture, or if we have some that somebody can send, that'd be great too.
Yep, we could do that.
Looks
Any other thoughts or ideas? I'll ask some questions on dimensions because that was a question that the committee asked as well. But I don't know. I think this is more just schematic design, and then once we want to move on with like design costs and things like that, then I think it gets into dimensions, and cost would definitely affect the size.
Technology. I mean, this is just schematic, right? Versus lights and technology and all of that stuff, right?
Yep, correct.
Yeah, I think we could get a lot of variation once we get into those technicalities, if you will.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I think that was kind of that, and we can move on to the next thing.
Great. So next item is fundraising updates from members. Before we go around the squares, I did want to give you all an update on the 501c3 conversation that y'all previously had. We have chatted with our city attorney, and he has said to us that we do not even need a 501c3. The city can create a separate fund that is separate from the general fund and use that as a place to hold all of the donated funds. So this will mitigate maintenance fees that we're currently paying with where the money currently is. And that's something that we'll keep our eyes on all of the time. Those funds will be audited along with our annual audit. And another thing that our legal recommended to us was also setting a sunset for those funds. So say 10 years from now, maybe today someone donates money specifically for a bench. Maybe we haven't done that bench in the next 10 years. Those funds would then directly be put toward parks projects. So those funds would, the reasoning for that donation would then sunset. That just gives us some flexibility that if we say a project is happening now and the funding never comes in, that gives us the availability to use those funds for a separate park related item. But great news, we can hold those funds in the city through a city separate fund. And that would be easier to maintain as well. Do you have any questions on those?
I guess
Can that be tax exempt for
It will be,
those donators?
Yep.
Yeah,
those would be
right
tax
now it
exempt.
is tax exempt the way it is. So I would think it would not change based on what
Correct.
we're using the money for. So should be
Correct.
hopefully
It will
good
be
there.
tax exempt. And the legal staff has also provided a tax. So basically a contract. It's very simple for those who are donating, something that we can put on a pamphlet and they sign it as they send in their donation. And then also he's provided us a tax form. So when someone donates over X amount of money, we'll be able to send out that tax form that those donors can then use for their taxes at the end of the year.
So like a tax donation.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
So I want to make sure I understand this right. We're taking the money out of this Greater Kansas City Fund and putting it in a bank account, or no?
So what we actually would recommend is keeping this fund.
Okay,
Because one of the downfalls of having a donation fund through the city is that everything is sunshineable, pretty much. So anyone can say, I want a list of all of the donors who have given money to the city for this project specifically. And even
Yeah.
if someone donates and they want to remain anonymous, we legally have to release their name. We recommend keeping this open because through this, someone can donate anonymously.
okay, so you're really raising money in two different places. I guess I thought that the benefit of having this Greater Kansas City thing are we not gaining interest on our money here too, or is that not a thing?
I
No.
do not
What the
know.
market does.
I think it was a small interest, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Very
it's a small. I do think there is if it grew enough, it would be significant enough to outweigh, I think, some fees was the original conversation, reaching back way back into my brain. But the problem is being restricted on withdrawals, if I'm recalling correct, and some other things that are a little more complicated on it, where it's not even accessible to get anything done, like say for fundraising for the light parade, or we don't have the ability to go get those supplies.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. And with having funds available through the city, I mean, they're there. There's no extra things other than submitting an invoice through our regular process and channels. And then also Matt has brought up the latest on the legacy fund that we have, 2604.47 cents. Thank you to those who have contributed lately. Yep, so 700 year to date. Do we want to go around the squares and kind of talk about what you all have done so far, who you're working on, and what kind of next steps you're looking forward or looking to do as far as fundraising? Our action items are decision on the first three fundraising events. So if that discussion pops up through that as well, we'll take that.
Yeah, and if I can kind of update you because we kind of had the same conversation with the Parks and Rec Committee, and we had public comment from the Historical Society, and they had talked again about the Christmas light show through the campground, and I think that's something that I think could be possible if you guys really wanted to spearhead that together, joint as long as with the other community members in Smithville. So. And I think there was a few more events, like Eric Craig's events, on August 13th. And then I know Starla brought up the wine and sip.
It's a sip and shop. Yeah.
Sip
I
and
don't wear
shop.
any-
That's also coming up here in July. So if we were able to finalize the renderings of the stage, that could be brought there, and then we could have like a QR code or any kind of form there where people could donate if they wanted to.
Yeah, I was hoping to get a sit down with Eric. I think there's some other folks, maybe, I don't know how much he's been busy. And I was just wanting to have a conversation with him. The text that I had was basically pretty open-ended, and I did not get any commitment on the side of even having a discussion. So maybe there would be somebody better to be the point person with that. But I think he is a great avenue to try and get some things done on this. It's just going to be getting the time and getting his brain for 30 minutes to discuss it.
Does anyone else have a contact with Eric?
I've reached out to him a couple times as well, but I haven't gotten any new information.
Yeah, I think he knows we want something, and he's like, I'm busy right now. And he's not the best at saying, Jen, I hear you, I'll get back to you. Like, that's just not his style. So I might just have to hit Neth or somebody and say, listen, why don't you drop me a line next time you see him when you're out so I can show up. And then it's got to be if I'm available to run down there to see what he's going to, you know what I mean? It's kind of going to be one of those convenience things almost.
Yeah, the mayor possibly could as well. I know they have a lot of this like stop and talks a lot too. So we could possibly look at seeing if he could help us out there.
Yeah.
So is the idea to kind of create flyers with the QR code to share with people at these events? Is that?
Or maybe we should have a tent even, if we did some nice prints of kind of this to start putting the vision in people's heads, you know, and obviously label it that it is a coming, you know, rendition. This is not exact, whatever, however the verbiage needs to be on that so that somebody doesn't come back later and say something, you know, very negative, or we're going to sue you because that's not what it, you know what I'm saying here. And then from that, we could maybe generate a little more buzz and interest to get that QR code going, to get some donations going, to even get some drops in a box at those events if we had something like that.
Well, that was my idea for the sip and shop, was to kind of have an area with the renderings up and printed so people could actually see them and kind of know what we're talking about. And
I love
just
it. Great minds think alike.
Mm-hmm. That's why I
Well,
asked
event
Matt.
is on June 2nd, so it's coming up here pretty quick. We're about 2 weeks away, less than 2 weeks away.
But I didn't even know if Becky would let us do that. So I don't know if you guys have a good relationship with her, or if we should have the mayor ask, or
So that's Thursday, June 2nd. That's in the evening.
Mhm.
yes.
What is it, start at 4 or 5?
I was just looking at it on Facebook. It says
It might be a little
6
quick too,
p.m.
because this isn't a final rendering either. And so by the time to have the poster board and everything like that, pretty close to Memorial Weekend, I know that some of her staff is going to be out of town, as well as our staff as well here.
Well, we got to start somewhere. So even if it's little and we get $100, we had $100 more than we did. And if is it 5 to 7? What's the hours that would be needed to kind of chat up people and just kind of start to create that?
It says 6 to 9 p.m. on Facebook.
Okay.
I think if we even had this, just to show people and just give them an idea of what's coming. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
like,
agree.
sometimes I just put up those little tents in open houses. You know, it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be a super big fancy thing. So we can have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper in a presentation type of stand, just to start to get that with. I'm sure you guys can come up with a little box. I don't have one on hand because I don't take a lot of donations, or if I do, it's from a different organization and the box goes back to them. But a box with donations to the Legacy Fund, please make checks payable to, and see if we can even get anything. Hey, would you like to invest in this project for our town? You know?
And we do have a new plotter at work at City Hall. And it prints giant pieces of paper. So if you don't want, I mean, obviously later when we get the finalized rendition, we'll get something nice that's on the poster board. But if this is something you want
It's a good idea. I
get
forgot about
started
that.
with, yeah,
I
we
do
can
think
just
we
print it
need
off.
something that can stand up on a board, like on an easel
Yeah,
with it. And then maybe there's some text along it that says something about the Legacy Fund and Parks and Rec Board, whoever's all helping with this, you know, that just some simple graphics that could be put up that people could see really easily.
I know that Brittany's also done that, that quick flyer that's got the QR code on it. We can utilize that just for people who maybe just want to take it and think about it later.
Yeah.
But
The
yeah,
flyer thing is a good thing as well, I think, if you have handouts and that kind of thing.
Yep.
But that's still saying that we get into this event, and I don't know who's running it. Somebody said Becky. Does anybody have contact with her where we can reach out and see if she'd be okay with us having a little spot?
That's the thing. I know the mayor knows Becky really well, but I don't know. Maybe I can talk to him and see if he'll reach out to her and just ask.
Is it through the Main Street group?
mm-mm,
No.
no. They had
Says
the wine
event
walk a
by-
couple weekends ago.
Event by Kansas City Events and the White Iron Ridge group. I don't know who that is.
I don't know either.
Kansas City Events.
I just thought that if we had some pictures out there and had the donation box and women are out there shopping and drinking, you know, they might have some loose change. They just put
There
in the
you go.
donation bucket, you know, or
Absolutely.
write a check.
And
All
the
right,
sooner we
well-
start fundraising, the better, I think, too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Agree. We got to start somewhere.
Yep.
All right, well, I can work on finalizing this and getting that back to them with changes, and we can start printing this off and put it on postboard, and we'll start an email chain to figure out how we can get into that first event, but have it ready for the future. Because since a lot of things are at these parks, so we have the contacts to be like, hey, can we set up a post board and donation box to these areas and see if we can get in that way for downtown events and things like that. So
Can we print it with a QR code on the picture? Right, so we don't have a physical box,
That would be, yeah.
Probably.
QR code on the picture that people could.
yeah, we can work on that. Yeah, we can pass that along, see if that's possible.
Pull up the code, have a little bit of information and.
Kind of do like
Yeah,
a,
And if we do that, can we get some flyers too? Because, you know, I know personally, I wouldn't be wanting to donate to something. So I really haven't asked
Yeah.
anybody yet. Because I want them to see what I'm asking them to donate for.
Mhm.
I
So-
agree. And then the takeaway, I think having a handout with it as well is really good because then for me, I'd take it and then I'd see it again when I got home and be, yep, I'm ready for that. I'm ready to donate to that now.
And right now, the flyers that Brittany put together just has that QR code
Yeah.
on it, but it takes you to that website that has all the information on it. And if we
Yep.
need to build that up too with additional information or anything like that, we can easily do that.
have some more additional information on what we're trying, what the goal is for this, and put like a kind of a page together for this project. So.
Mhm.
Yep.
Great. So it looks like we have one fundraising event. You all also mentioned a Christmas parade and then other events as well. I assume you we're talking about Festivale for Craig.
I don't know if we remember all the different things we were talking about.
I guess the one thing that I did, and then I'm gonna probably have to jump off here. I just have a couple people that I know who do fundraising for some larger universities. So that's, I've got time to set up with them to meet with them, but I haven't had a chance to pick their brain yet. So that's the next thing, I guess, on my commitment list is to make sure that I'm meeting with them beforehand, but to come back with notes from some ideas that things that they do and that have worked well to raise money for those larger organizations. So
Great.
Well, and I mean, I can tell you what we just did recently. We did a little chicken pickle event for the realtors, and that event, just by, you know, simply setting the levels and asking people to invest, we raised $15,000.
Wow.
And it was literally like, I mean, it took a few weeks,
Awesome.
obviously, to set up an event, but you set up an event, you bring people in, we would have this poster. It would be a solicited group that we target in Smithville, theoretically, of business owners that have a little bit of wherewithal to give to this cause. And then we ask them to invest said amount for said level, or however we want to go about that. We could develop levels if we want, or we could just straight ask them, hey, do you have $1,000 to invest in this for now? So we can kind of get things going further down the road. Here's our goal. We could even do a little thermometer type of thing. Those are really popular with people to show as you progress on the goal. That might be a little premature in where we're at on this, but I know that that is a popular ways to raise funds. You know, Horizon does the more fundraiser, and in 2 weeks, they raised $20,000 almost every year for the last 3 years since I was the PTO president, and they have done that consistently from just K through 6. So I would think we would be able to have this go. This is all, you know, similar people, similar minds that want great things for our town.
Absolutely.
It is
So-
3 o'clock now.
Yeah, it is 3 o'clock. So for the sake of an action item, it looks like we have one event. Do we want to vote on the approval of being at this event and then working together to get the foot into the door for that event? It doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but at least we've got approval. to
Yes,
move
I would
forward
make
with
the
it.
motion that we work on getting in the event on June 2nd. I wrote down on my calendar that I could be there, but I'd make the motion that we go ahead and approve and work towards that goal.
Great. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Caitlin. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. All right, we've got a path forward. Does anyone else have any comments? Great. Thank you all so much. Thanks for squeezing it all into a half an hour.
No, way to go. Great job, guys. Thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you,
Love you guys.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.